Welcome back to The Real Deal, Part 3, where I'm blowing your mind, telling you the truth about what's happened in American society with the taxes, the money, who controls it, who started it, the stock market, again, the taxes. And I left off on Part 2. Of course, I built up Teddy Roosevelt quite a bit. Great man. Wasn't perfect. Nobody is. Did some bad stuff. Everybody does corruption and stuff like that. But he tried to do his best. He helped black folks. He helped people that were just freed slaves trying to rise above all the BS. Well, those boys went through a lot. They're still going through a lot. There's still so much racism and hatred in this country against someone for their color or the race or religion. It's stupid. Anyway, so Teddy Roosevelt, he stood up to all these big bullies in the corporate world. They didn't like that. So then you got old Woodrow Wilson coming in there now. And Teddy ran as a third-party candidate, still finished second, and there was speculation that Woodrow's people cheated. Surprise, surprise. I don't disbelieve it. Wouldn't shock me a bit because the strings were getting pulled. I'm sure people were getting paid to vote certain ways. Those big fat cats did not want Teddy in there. Now, old lefty Woodrow Wilson got in there, old Skid Row. He did what the masters told him. So he was the 28th president, and he won 2 terms. And old Woodrow, he bowed down to the masters, man. He established the League of Nations, which, that's a shady thing right there. They pick and choose who they like. They pick and choose who they're going to support. And, of course, the United States is in there. So, but if you don't like the USA or you've done something to us, man, they're going to get down on you. Or if they just don't like you. That's just how it is, man. I personally don't like the League of Nations. I don't like the United Nations. I don't like any of that stuff. I don't trust them. They're all corrupt and they're all crooks. And we shouldn't even have it. The UN is a joke. Anyway, let's get back to old Skid Row there. He had a lot of so-called progressive reforms during his time as president. And you all know the word progressive is supposed to mean something like making progress in a positive way for everybody, but it doesn't. It only makes things for certain people. Just like today, you have so-called progressives saying, oh, welcome to our city. We love everybody here. Ooh, no, you're black, you're Jew, you're not allowed here. Ooh, Irish, ooh. And don't get me wrong, because there's a lot of countries that do that same thing. There's a lot of cities that do that same thing. You got some very open, lefty, progressive cities in America that we're talking have over 100,000 people, but only have like 4 or 5% black folks there. You got to be kidding me, man. Shoot, my city's got 33% or so. I don't know. I haven't looked it up. But we're probably a third black, and we're only about 40,000 people here. So, what? Oh, that's right. We're working class. We don't put our pinkies out. We actually work for a living, and we don't act like we're better than everybody. And that's what Skid Row was. Skid Row was the true representative of the far left. Now, let's talk about some of the things he did. Now, up until this point, we didn't have any federal income tax in the United States except during times of like right after wars to support those wars and kind of pay things back, help people get on their feet and stuff like that. And then it's like, okay, we're good. We're done. But old Skid Row, he signed the Federal Reserve Act. Oh, yeah. He signed that. He also signed the 16th Amendment into law. Now, in 1913, right after he was in there. Now, you know what the 16th Amendment is, don't you? Well, that makes it constitutional to where they can charge you federal income tax. Any rate they want, they can raise it. They have a board that can turn it down, but you really think those those people are going to turn it down? They're assigned there. They're not elected. And who puts them there? The people that want them there. So, I'm just telling it like it is, man. And that's what you get with me. The truth. Not a fan of Woodrow. Not a fan of the Federal Reserve. Did you know that the United States federal government does not own or control the Federal Reserve? Did you know that? Probably not. But that's why you listen to me, because I tell you some stuff. But now the Democrats wanted a central bank, a bank where they controlled everything, controlled all the money, and they could tell you what to put in, what to put out. They knew where it was going. They knew everything. That's what they wanted. But, like I said, the 16th Amendment got passed. Boom, here comes federal taxes. But the central bank got shut down. So thank goodness, man. Because that's basically, you know, they're always talking about anti-communist. They're always talking about we hate commies. But the central bank is like what the commies do, what the Nazis did. I mean, come on, people. Now, the Federal Reserve, they have been tied to so many scandals over the years. Like I said, we don't control it. It's like a board of directors, you know. They have had so many scandals. They have taken over banks. They've controlled banks, and they've gotten caught a lot. They have, like, little banks are struggling, so they took them over, and, you know, they did what they had to do. And sometimes they'll shut the bank down and tell the people, well, the bank went out of business, so you don't have any money. Because back then they didn't have an FDIC to insure your money. But even now with the FDIC, your money's only insured for a limited amount. It's not, if you've got $100,000 in there, you're not getting your $100,000 back. You know, they know what they're doing. They have been caught cheating. They have been caught doing fake trades. They've been caught with insider trading, because what they do is they like to invest in things. And they know before you and I will about something. All right, let's say you're like talking to your friend and he says, hey, Microsoft's going to buy my wife's company. For real? And you go buy that stock up. That's considered insider trading. Did you know that? Yeah. So these guys know what's going down because they put the licenses in and everything else, just like the House of Representatives and the senators and all the people in government know what's going down. The people that are dealing with the trade know what's going down. The people at the licensing bureau, everybody. So if they go and they say, hey, let's buy in this company because that stock's going to go up once Microsoft takes over. I've seen this happen before. I know people who have gotten in trouble for that because his wife worked there or somebody worked there. I know it. I've seen it. I've had it happen to friends of mine. But you know what? These rich folks at the top, Nancy Pelosi's a senator. You tell me she doesn't know what's going to happen, but her husband's a great investor in the stock market. Gee, I wonder why. But they've been caught with insider trading. Nothing happens to them. Nothing happens. Now, they are owned by what they call an independent entity. And what that is there's a board of governors on there. And we know who they are, but how do we really know we can trust these people? How do we really know they have the United States of American citizens? How do we know they have our interest at heart? How do we know that they want what's best for us? We don't. We don't. There are 12 regional reserve banks across the country. And with these banks, there's a lot of companies involved, and there's a lot of people involved. And by that, I don't mean me and you. I mean some guy wearing a 3-piece suit that won't be listening to this right now and is probably, well, I'll be honest, probably rich because he got born into that money or he hurt people to get that money. And, you know, they don't care. All they care about is money. They don't care about the people. And they know when they die what's going to happen. But in the meantime, they don't care. That's the way a lot of people are in this world. They only care about themselves. Some people come into money and they don't help anybody else even though they need it, man. There's people that'll raise money for a hospital, and that hospital's CEO makes $5 million a year. But the kids don't know any better, but the adults should look into that. Next thing you know, you're giving money to a hospital that doesn't need it, that generates $8 billion worth of revenue a year. I see that all the time, too. People, it's easy to look into these things nowadays. They have to release the information to a point. They have to release certain things. They're not going to release everything, just like the Federal Reserve. There are many companies involved. There are many people involved. And to sort it all out would be probably impossible because they do a great job of hiding it. Now, today, the Federal Reserve has controlled everything. You know, they set the interest rates. They do all kinds of stuff for us. They set the, you know, it's beyond belief. Because personally, I believe the Federal Reserve The Federal Reserve Board and the Federal Reserve Bank should be owned by the United States citizens or controlled by the United States government, if you're going to get that low down. But it's not, and it's not going to be. And they've got the power. And the people that run it, they got the power too, and you're not going to get it away from them. Nowadays, the average person in the United States pays about 14.5 federal income tax. That's average, and that's usually on the low end. That's your, well, not to be rude, but your poorer people, the people that work and struggle to get by. You know, I don't really shouldn't. I'll tell it like it is. They're poor. And I'll tell you another thing. You've got the high class, the upper class there, the middle class, and what they call the low class. And then you got different branches. You got lower class, lower class, upper lower class, lower middle class, middle class, upper middle class. You know, high class doesn't matter. But what they do is they kind of want you in the middle class area. Keep an eye on the low class people, and you watch them struggle and see the houses they live in. That way you'll keep going to work every day. You'll show up because you don't want to be like them. That's the way they do it. They pitch that. It's like advertising. So the average person, the average middle class American, pays anywhere from 20 to 30% of their salary in federal taxes. Now, almost every state has a sales tax also. And I remember as a little kid, I'd go to the store with my mom. And at that time, the sales tax was 4 cents on the dollar. And I'd buy something for $1 and have to pay $1.04. And I'll never forget this because I asked my mom why. And she said, well, that's sales tax, honey. And I'm like, then why don't they just charge 96 cents so it's $1 with the tax? And she couldn't answer that. I also asked her, what does the sales tax go to? And they would try to say, well, it goes to state aid and it helps programs and things like that. Really? I don't see it. Just like the lottery goes to the state. Yeah, okay. So what happens there? The lottery goes to the state? No. It supposedly does. Then how come schools don't have any money? How come certain schools are closed down and out of business? Well, that's because of the city they're in. Then they can get money from the state. They always talk and pitch about how the lottery helps the schools and helps people. Shoot, I don't even want to go there, man. You know, they don't do nothing. I think it helps the rich, if anything. You know, why do schools, you got athletes still got to pay to play. They always use the schools, though, because, you know, that's your weak point, looking at kids. So that's like, oh, do it for the children. They've always done that. Now, in the average person's lifetime, you will make $1.7 million. That's working your whole life away. In that, you will pay about $530,000 in taxes. Now, that's state, local, fed, sales tax, homeowners tax, property, all that stuff. That's a lot of freaking money when you think about it. That's like, you know, a little less than a third of your labor. Now, that's your earnings. But that's less. You know, the average person. Now, let's say you make more, you're going to pay more. That's how it goes. And they say, well, he made more money, so it's okay. Well, how do you know he didn't work his butt off for it? You know, some people work hard and get paid a lot of money. Some people get paid a lot of money to sit on their fat butts all day and do nothing. There's a lot of people that do that. And they can't think for themselves, and they're not qualified to do the job, and they shouldn't do it. They should be fired. But instead, they end up promoting people like that. I'm serious. I've seen it my whole life. The worst people, ones that can't do the job, they're the ones that get promoted to tell somebody how to do a job they couldn't do. So we pay a lot in taxes now. Let me ask you, what do you get for it? What do I get for it? If I call the police, I got to wait 45 minutes, and it's going to be a state trooper or a sheriff. And how often do I call the police? Never. I have no problem with the police, but you know what I'm saying? How often does that happen? I have a street light, barely works. My road's paved. I paid a lot for that. And that's probably going to be that way forever now. They'll probably never do anything on it again. They never plow my road. So what am I paying the road commission for? Do you see what I'm saying, people? I'm paying property taxes. They say it goes to the schools. Well, the school I'm paying property taxes for, there's a building up the road where most of the school buses go to from other communities, school of choice. They don't want to go to this school. So, I mean, what am I paying for? What do I get? Nothing. What do most of you get? Really? Nothing. You know? I know a lot of people pay a lot in taxes and they live on a public road and it's garbage. So, is it worth it? No, but somebody's getting rich. And it ain't us, people. It's a big club at the top, and we're not a part of it. So after Woodrow Wilson did his thing, we got into World War I. Blame the Germans for that, but there was a lot more going on than that. Our economy was hurting, and when the economy hurts, they do what they do, like Vietnam. In the 60s, the economy was troubled. So what'd they do? They went to Vietnam to stop the spread of communism. If you really wanted to stop the spread of communism, should have gone to China or Korea, or how about Russia? I mean, those were bigger countries, and Vietnam did not end well for us. But that's what they did. So we got with all the allies, and we kicked some butt over there. But now, here's what happened after that. The economy started slagging. Then it started going up, 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 up. Stock market went up. All kinds of stuff went up. A lot of these people were buying low, selling high. And then in 1929, after the stock market crashed, the Great Depression started. Now, the stock market crash, honestly, a lot of people got rich in that. You didn't see a lot of people that were rich lose money. I mean, if they did, it wasn't much to where it mattered to them. The people like you and I that invested, we were the ones losing money. And the stock market, they got 40 different reasons why it crashed. There's no real reason why it crashed. There's no real legitimate reason why it crashed. And to this day, many people think it was a setup because there were tons of people that got rich off it. The government got rich off it. What they did is they raised interest rates, and then they ended up taking over a lot of banks when it crashed because these banks were struggling and hurting. So they took over all that money, all that interest, all that stock. If the bank owns your home, well, now the government owns your home, and you're paying them, and they raise the interest rates. So stop and think about it. You think this was legitimate? Just happened? Like I said, right before they went under, the stock market crashed, they were raising the interest rates. Banks went under, and there were people that had coverage, like your average person, that would lose everything. But just a couple people that got rich off it. Let me give you a couple names here. The Kennedy family. Y'all know Joe Kennedy, right? John F. Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy's daddy. Now, he started as a bootlegger, illegal, working and gambling, doing all kinds of stuff, hustling and scraping. And then he got out of it and realized, hey, we can make more money doing this and hustling with my rich friends here. And that's what they did. He got rich off it. He got totally richer off it. Another guy named Jesse Livermore. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he was a very famous trader back then. Big stock trader, knew what he was doing. He made billions. Well, in today's money. The Getty family, J. Paul Getty. I know you've all heard of him. He made a ton of money off it. Now, how'd these guys make money if they had millions invested and it crashed? How'd they make money? The Rockefellers, good Lord, the Rockefellers. Don't even get me started on that family. Bunch of crooks, man. Been around forever like that. You ever been to Rockefeller Plaza in New York City? So I went there, and I sit there. The guy's, it's a lot of twistedness to him. So I'm sitting there, and everybody's watching all the big, beautiful things going on. And I'm looking at the building, and I'm seeing all these occult symbols. Like, pretty much, if you want to use the word satanic, as a Christian would call it, symbols. And I'm looking at this stuff, and I was like, why does he put that on there? Who's he worshiping? Why has he got that big guy holding the globe? I mean, there's some crazy stuff, man. And if you investigate it, which I'll tell you about it someday, it's a mess. It makes you wonder what he was up to, what he was into, and what he believed, and where that money was going. The Rockefellers have been controlling businesses and the government for years. They've even put their own people in there. But all those guys got rich and stayed rich during the Great Depression, which they blame on the stock market. But again, To this day, nobody knows what really caused the Great Depression. And I don't think we ever will. I believe it was set up on purpose. I believe it was set up so they could control the banks, so they could control and buy up people's lands because they couldn't afford it anymore, because they had mortgages. Plus, they had to pay federal taxes on everything, which they were struggling to make to begin with. So now they're buying up all the land for cheap. Tell me this wasn't a setup, man. You know, I don't trust big business. I don't trust corporations. I don't trust most of the government, and there's reasons why. And these are some of the reasons why. Now, it's funny that in the stock market, 10%, even to this day, 10% of the wealthiest people own 93% of the stocks. Why do you think that is? You and I could go in there and play the game. It's a little riskier for us, but and this is all you know me. I'm telling the truth. This isn't just fabrication or some Facebook conspiracy. This is the real deal, man. 10% of the wealthiest people own 93% of the American stocks. There's 3 companies that own investments in almost everything you can look into. You look at a new company starting up and they're starting to get taken over. It's going to be BlackRock. It's going to be State Street. And it's going to be Vanguard. Those 3 companies have their hands in everything. And they couldn't do that. And these people couldn't have got rich off the Great Depression and the stock market crash and everything else. They never would have got that way if they hadn't gotten rid of Teddy Roosevelt. If he had won for presidency, he might have been able to get somebody else in there. World War I might not have happened. Stock market might not have crashed. There wouldn't have been any Great Depression. I mean, if there was, it would have taken a little longer till they got their own puppets in there. And talking about puppets, FDR, he destroyed this country. Jeez. Talk about a so-called progressive socialist. Dude, that man destroyed this country, man. I can't stand him. Oh, man. Freaking worked with the Nazis, hated Jews, hated all kinds of people, man. He was not a good person, and he made a ton of money doing it. And so, like I said, 3 companies own a little bit in everything. How did these people get rich? You had to get people out of the way. Somebody standing in your way. You either get them elected out, or you get your own people in there. Or sometimes you kill them. That happens quite a bit. It happens more than you think. Right now, there's 11 scientists across America missing. 11 scientists missing in a matter of weeks. A couple have died, mysterious deaths. And it makes me wonder, what do they know? What do they find out? What do they got going on that somebody doesn't want you to know? That happens a lot more than you think, people. Now, here's the thing, too. If you don't pay your taxes, it's a felony. And then you get all these rich people say, well, I shouldn't have to pay that much in money. Well, you know what? There's ways for them to get out of it. There's tax laws, and they've got lawyers that can lodge and dodge all that stuff, and we don't have that capability. I mean, some of us know how to handle and hustle, but all it takes is for them to get a little bug up their butt because you went on a podcast and said something about them. Next thing you know, man, they're coming to get you. You're getting audited. And Wall Street. Wall Street's a setup, too, the whole stock market thing. You got all those guys down there. The guys working down there aren't rich. They're just regular people like me and you. I couldn't do it because that's too much stress. You ever been to Wall Street? Them guys hustling, buy, sell. Man, that's some stressful stuff, man, freaking out like that. I couldn't deal with that, man. Those guys, a lot of them die young or have a lot of health problems. It's really sad. They make good money because they get a cut and stuff like that. But they don't make billions like the people they're working for. And most of that stuff is a done deal behind closed doors because the big companies know what's going down. They know what's going down, man. Now, on Wall Street, there's a golden calf. I don't know if you know the story of the golden calf in Exodus, in the Torah, or as you might call it, the Bible, the Old Testament, whatever. But in Exodus 32, Moses doesn't come back for a while. So the people take all their gold off and they make a golden calf. Now, if you read it as it was written, Aaron was said, hey, this is your God now, worship him. But then when Moses does come back and said, what's going on? He's like, oh, man, we threw all our gold in here and this calf came out of the fire. Like it came out. And the people were worshiping it. And they were worshiping this golden calf. And that's always been a sacrilegious thing. When you see a golden calf, it's something very negative because it represents worshiping money. And in 1989, this guy had a permit. He put a golden calf statue on Wall Street. And he left it there. Basically, it's there illegally. The permit was never taken down. Never refiled the permit or anything. But it's a tourist trap item. People go there, get pictures of it. They've desecrated it. They've painted its balls blue, things like that. A lot of crazy stuff. But makes you wonder why there's a golden calf on Wall Street. The guy that put it there was a foreigner, and I think he knew what he was doing to kind of represent, say, hey, this is what it's all about. Because that's what people do in this society. They worship money. They care more about money than they do their neighbor, their brother, their sister. They care more about money than their own family. Not everybody, but most people are very selfish and greedy, and it's getting worse. And it's been programmed and planned by our society, by our government for years and years and years. It wasn't supposed to be like this. But this is what happens when the rich control the world. The rich control everything. Like I said, it's a big group at the top, people. We're not invited to the parties. That's kind of sad, man. So I'm just letting you know that this is what's happened. This is what's going on. And what can we do about it? What can we do? Is anybody going to do anything? No. Nobody's going to touch anything on this because they don't want to rock the boat. Back in the day, I give those guys in the revolution I give them so much hype and credit, man. There was only a couple million of them. You know, they were outnumbered like 6-1. They still said, you know what, grab your guns, boys. You two women, we're going to go kick some limey butt. And they did. And they got freedom. And I tell you what, all the good old boys back then and good old girls are rolling in their graves right now. They don't like what's going on in the United States. Especially them people that fought and said, we don't want taxation. No taxation without representation. You know why they get away with it now? Because you're allowed to put people in Congress and the Senate. Not the people I want. They give me a choice of 2 people, and there may be 6 others on the ballot that you know aren't going to win. I'm going to vote for one of them. People say I wasted my vote. I say the only vote wasted is the one that you put in for some loser at the top or the vote that's not cast. Y'all don't realize these people are not poor that are going in there. You're not seeing a good old boy farmer coming out of the field and becoming a representative anymore. You see some guy that was born and raised and he's like, went to this university, went to this. I see some of these people, they can't even make a complete sentence. I'm like, how the heck did she get into college? She can't even spell college. You got stupid people like AOC in there. She can't even spell AOC. I'm telling you, man, the system's broke, it's flawed, and it needs to be gutted and started all over again. What we really need to do is we need to stand up and have a revolution. We need to let these people know that we're tired of it. And if you go in and you're going to vote, put somebody in there that's going to stick up for you. You got some good people in there. They got a few senators right now I really like, a couple congressmen. I'm like, good for you, dude. But you're outnumbered. There's a guy in there. He's a Democratic senator, thinks for himself. I'm shocked by that. He doesn't vote party lines. I was like, good for you. He's like, you got all the Democrats voting one way and he votes the other, and he'll tell you why. Well, this is what I think we need to do because it's going to help everybody. I'm like, whoa. I'm surprised he hasn't been shot or something or put in a hospital or something like that. But I give him so much credit. I have a lot of respect for that man. And there are a few good ones out there still, people. But keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes peeled. The time's going to come when we've got to do something. And we're nearing some rough times right now. And we're coming up on midterm elections. We need people that care about us. It's we the people, for the people, by the people. And those bastards in Washington, D.C. and at the state government, they need to realize that's what it is. We the people, not them. They represent us, all of us, not just their constituents that voted them in or the people that send them money. They don't care about all of us. We need to get back on track, people. That's all we can do. And if you got to, send them emails, send them letters, call them, tell them how you feel. And when you get in that voting booth, push the right button, put the right paper in there, do whatever it takes. Get the right people in there that are going to get this country back on track, because they're out there. They're out there. There's people that still want to stand up to the big shots and the big corporate elites and stuff. There's people out there like me and you. So keep it real with the real deal, baby. I'll be back real soon. Peace and love. Be safe.